Any work that is done on any human being should involve the work on the spiritual side, mental side, and the physical side. And it's very important to combine those.
Welcome to the I Heart My Life show, Dorota. I'm so excited to have this time with you and to go deep and just unearth anything that wants to be voiced today.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation and to really exploring some deep topics that I know we can talk about today.
Yeah. So beautiful. So we met a few months ago at our mutual friend Neeta's house, who's been on the podcast. And I didn't get to talk to you that much. You were chatting with my husband a bit more, but we had a really beautiful healing session that you offered me a few weeks ago. And you're just such a powerful force in the world. So I definitely want to talk about your work. But before that, I'd love to take it back and just understand a little bit more about your background, because I know you mentioned to me that you come from a long line of healers. So I'd love for you to share a little bit more about your story and how you came to do this work.
Amazing. So as you mentioned, my family actually had, we have healers and psychic in the family from generation to generation. And my grandparents were clairvoyant and healers. And we even had some sort of alchemy book that was passed actually from generation to generation, and was giving people those tools to navigate in an invisible world. However, the book was lost during the Second World War. So my father didn't inherit the book. And that was, I think, his biggest regret, that he couldn't have access directly to that wisdom. So he had to start from scratch. I grew up within the knowledge of healing energy, of medium capacities, of magic, you can say. And really, I was very, very lucky to have that sort of very early on introduction to that world. But it was scary for me, because it wasn't just that I was introduced to it. I was also experiencing very early on all sort of strange things. And as a child, it would quite, strongly freak me out. So for years, I actually blocked myself from hearing things, from seeing things, from feeling. And I always
can you explain what it was that you actually saw and heard?
So my talent, my gifts are a few different things. I'm clairaudient. So I hear messages, I hear the information about people, wisdom. So my book is 80% channeled. It's literally pieces of information that are coming to me that I either choose to receive or not. I'm also medium, so I feel spirits. I choose to not engage much with spirits in this life, but I can feel them, and I can definitely experience everything that relates to spirits that you can possibly imagine. And so as a child, I would have this constant visits of spirits who would like to simply communicate with me. And then that was very, very scary. And I also have the capacity of feeling people. So whenever I enter someone's aura, I receive some sort of mood board. So I can literally feel the person and almost have like a visual representation of that person's life. And that's a very beautiful gift, because every time, I even walk through a park and I will meet someone's aura, it's this constant movie that is projected and given to me. And it took me years to learn to use that, and to use that well. At first, I thought everyone had those abilities and we were all the same. And I do believe that everyone does. We just don't have as much developed, or maybe you will have stronger visual perception than the feeling perception, and different senses will operate differently in different people. But for me, blocking that energy resulted in really rejecting myself, and that unfortunately related to, in my case, quite heavy physical conditions, physical disease. I had a heart operation. I had a bladder operation, bladder autoimmune disease, and I was pretty much, seeing doctors and taking some different types of medications for altogether maybe 15 years of my life. So it was very painful, very confusing time in my life where I questioned everything, and I questioned life. I questioned my purpose of being here. When I was 19 with my autoimmune disease, I went to India hoping that I will find some healers who would miraculously cure me. And what happened is that in India, I almost died. I got extremely rare infection that resulted in internal bleeding, and I was pretty much ready to go. That fortunately didn't happen. I was transported by plane from Bangalore to Delhi, and doctors were able to save me. But at this stage, I really couldn't understand why all of this would happen to me, and why would I have such a bad luck, right?
And during that time, did your parents know that you were blocking this? Like, since they obviously have similar gifts, how did they handle your gifts and talk to you about this?
I think it wasn't. In my case, it wasn't just a combination of, it wasn't just rejecting my gifts. It was a combination of rejecting my gifts and being actually rejected by my brother, with who I had absolutely zero relationship when I was growing up. So I felt that the rejection was not only the one I was causing to myself, it was the one that I was experiencing from someone very close. And with my brother, I was the golden child. I was the golden, daughter who was supposed to be always perfect, was supposed to be always right. And unfortunately, he felt that he was the one who wasn't always perfect, and who wasn't okay, and who wasn't, loved by my parents to the same extent that I was, and which wasn't, of course, true, but this is how it felt for him. So my childhood wasn't ideal, and I very quickly left my home at the age of 16 just to avoid that relationship and that rejection. And my father, because that's from my father's side, the whole family was psychic, but from my mom's side there was this huge trauma on the family that energetically was quite heavy on all of us, because it was transgenerational trauma. My grandparents were taken to Siberia during the Second World War, and pretty much my grandma was murdered there by the soldiers, because she was from aristocratic family. She spoke multiple languages, and she was simply killed for that. Half of her children died from hunger. When my grandparents returned to Poland, we basically, everything was so devastating, and the entire experience, and starting from absolute scratch to rebuild, the family heritage and dignity and safety and security was close to impossible. So there was this huge heaviness on the family that then resulted in drinking of my grandfather and later on almost all the members of the family. So that said, post-communist Poland, in that time, people were not that much focused on developing necessarily, psychic abilities, rather than just surviving and having enough money to pay for life. And so my father and my mother were fighting very hard to just rebuild themselves and rebuild a life that would allow them to live comfortably. So I didn't see my parents that much when I was growing up. They were both working, and I was raised pretty much by my grandmother. And so I was pretty left by myself with everything that was happening. And it was later on when my father started to guide me through those gifts and those abilities, and sort of being my mentor in that sense. And I think, and I feel right now, because I actually never spoke about this in so much detail, that in the way I had to discover my own path. And this is exactly what happened, that after so many years of pretty much trying to figure out everything by myself, I, at the age of 20, 24, 25, I completely let go. And I completely let go of any desire even to know, any desire of being healed, any desire of changing anything. I stopped fighting with myself, and that led me to monastery. And I actually locked myself in a monastery with monks in northern Thailand, and started for the first time in my life very intense meditation for 7 hours per day. And I remember when I walked to that monastery, the monk looked at me and said, "Oh, Vipassana, very easy for you. You meditated lots of past life. It's going to be very easy for you." And I felt, interesting, right? Let's see what's going to happen. And indeed, when I started to meditate, it was like coming back home. It was like I knew that it wasn't something I was doing for the first time. And on the first day, I detached from my physical body. I was re-experiencing my body. I was re-experiencing the energies, and I would start to have dreams about what was going to happen the next day, clairvoyant dreams, and all those psychic abilities started to awaken quite quickly. And that was the beginning of my life. That was the beginning of the second chapter of my life, where I returned to myself and very slowly started to reintegrate that knowledge. And at first I just wanted to stay there for the rest of my life and lock myself in the forest and just meditate. And I realized that this is not a path. We have to take that knowledge back to help other people. But it would take me around 2 years to just reintegrate what happened, and to be able to come back to the society where everything was different. My friends were different. My relationship with everyone became different. How I was perceiving everyone was different. And so it was.
I have a few questions about that. So you said that you let go of everything. Can you describe that a little bit more? Because I know one of the things you and I talked about was actually full acceptance of either outcome of life. My whole business is going to crumble and my business is going to be really successful, like full acceptance and almost no attachment. Because when we're so anti one thing, like whatever we resist persists, and we actually are putting energy towards it. So is that what you mean? Like you let go of any preconceived notion of what you needed to be or what you needed to do, and you just were, or what did that look like?
Before I learned acceptance, there was quite a long way before that happened. At first, what happened was letting go of desire, letting go of the desire to control my life. I had to be pushed to the rock bottom. I had to be pushed to completely break and fall completely apart in order to do that, in order to surrender. Because when you live and grew up in such a little safe environment, what happens to you, you learn to control your environment. You learn to control yourself in order to build that sense of security, that sense of safety. And, by trying to control yourself and your life, you judge that the certain way is the right way for you. You judge that, the certain path is the right path. And the truth is you can't possibly know which path is right. And going even further with that thought, every path is the right path, because every path will eventually lead you to reconnection to yourself. You can make this path longer, you can make it more painful, you can make it more complicated, but every way is the right way. Right? There isn't just, it almost doesn't matter what you do in your life and who you become and where you live, as long as you are going in this direction of experiencing truly who you are from the alignment and the connection to your soul. And so in that moment when I was 25, I had my boyfriend who broke up with me in the middle of nowhere. I had my autoimmune disease who was extremely painful. I finished university. I had no idea what to do with my life. And that was the point when I just broke. And I said, okay, well, maybe everything I imagined for myself maybe life has a different plan for me. And what is the plan? And maybe I'm supposed to be sick for the rest of my life. Maybe this disease is protecting me from something else. At the end of the day, you can't know what you are gaining or losing by, being in a specific experience. So we should never judge this experience as bad or good, because maybe this experience is the perfect experience we are supposed to go through in that specific moment. And on a much bigger picture, it will actually serve us.
So you stopped fighting life, essentially.
Essentially, yes. Yeah. And in that moment of surrender, I just didn't have to be anyone. I didn't have to do anything, and I didn't have to go anywhere. And what happened is that life started to create such enormous and beautiful synchronicity in my life that I received so much more from life in the next 6 months that I could possibly imagine. So if if it was up to me, I would have received much less, because I didn't know that much was possible for me.
Like what did you receive?
It was just, imagine you're 25 years old, you have no idea what to do with your life, and you have that disease. And what happened in the next 6 months is that through the meditation, within 10 days I was healed. I haven't taken any medication for the disease for now over 10 years, sorry, it was 10 years ago. So the disease completely disappeared, no symptoms. I got a job offer that paid within 2 weeks of work for almost a year of my apartment that I didn't have. So the apartment, I've got a beautiful apartment of my friends who lived back then in California and offered me to basically rent their home for half price. It was just abundance after abundance. And it was quite remarkable, because it was such a big abundance in such a short amount of time that I was amazed by how simply surrendering and putting yourself in a state of receiving whatever is there for you to be received, how much life actually is willing to give you. And
how, sorry, I keep interrupting you, but I'm so curious.
Go for it.
But how do you, for the people listening who are wondering, like, how do you even put yourself in a state of receiving? Can you explain that? And my other question with that is, when you're meditating, are you focused on abundance, or is it really just focused on like being?
I'm not focused on anything. I am very good manifester, and I study law of attraction for quite a bit. And there is, a lots of different philosophies saying, you need to feel the energy of whatever you are desiring. You need to feel the abundance. You need to feel love. And it's partially true. It definitely helps to feel a whole, I would say. Don't even go specific, just feel a whole, because from a place of whole, you will attract absolutely everything. And people, when you feel in love, if you want to attract love into your life, feel simply in love. But I would push it even further. Like, if you notice love on the street, can you be grateful for just love existing in this world, rather than, trying to attract it? Can you be just grateful that it exists, that you can witness it? Because in this way, you dissolve the space that the space of the lack that is between you and love itself. And it works like this for everything, but this is only part of of how to manifest everything into your life. And I think a lot of people are very good in manifesting, but they are creating, but they are not very good in receiving it. Right? So we send those thoughts, we send those vibrations, we send this energy out, but then we are not putting ourselves in the state of receiving it. So it comes near us and comes past us, and we are losing this opportunity. And it's if you're not in the state of receiving, you can spend hours and weeks on trying to manifest whatever is there that you wish to receive, but you're not going to receive it. And so for me, I focused mostly on being in the state of receiving, and not any longer on even manifesting or creating, because I assume that whatever I am imagining is right for me, I can't possibly know if that thing is truly right for me. So I'm just simply opening myself up to receive whatever is there that life wants to give me. And most of the time it's so much more than I could possibly imagine. And how do you put yourself in that state? It's simply, which is actually the hardest thing, because it requires you to completely surrender. It requires you to completely surrender your desires, your ideas, your judgment about what is that you want to receive, and turn that energy of creation, manifestation, and almost stop it. It's almost like, when you are really, 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 really tired by doing something physically, actively, and there is this moment of complete letting go and letting your muscle to just like collapse. That's what you actually surrender. And that's the moment, that submission to life is the frequency in which you can receive life. It's not very easy practically to do. And it's me, who is like natural controller, it definitely took a long time to even learn and to even recognize the vibration of receiving. But it is the vibration of absolute trust that you don't have to do anything. You only can, but you don't have to do anything. And you are the magnet. You are the magnet that is constantly attracting things to you. And so your only ever role is to match the vibration of whatever you are willing to attract, and realign yourself with your true self. So raise your vibration and hold space in that vibration, so those things can basically be magnetized to you. Does it make sense?
Yeah. And for the person who's listening, who's like, well, how do I raise my vibration? Is there one, I know I'm asking you such deep questions, but is there one way someone could do that? Like you said, thinking about gratitude when you experience love and you see it on the street, is there a way that someone could raise their vibration easily?
Yes. And our vibration naturally is high. If we don't think, our vibration is high. So it's basically really practicing not thinking. Thoughts are judgment, and thoughts are constantly lowering our vibration and constantly really contributing to enormous amount of stress, enormous amount of monkey mind that is questioning everything, that is focusing on the details, that is creating this separation from ourself and the world. When you are in your mind, you are almost not seeing what's in front of you. It's like having a veil and seeing your thoughts first, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you can notice how present you are every single day, and how much actually time you spend in your mind versus you spend in your body, this is a great beginning, because every time you are present, every time you are in your body, your vibration will be high. Your thoughts will be stopped, and you will be in the state of peace and joy naturally. So your only task actually is stop your mind from thinking. The moments of the deepest wisdom you can experience, they don't come from the process of thinking. They come from enlightenment of the intuition. They are the whispers of your intuition with plenty of ideas, and that are there to enlighten certain parts of you. And so when we are in that state of stillness, when we manage to stop and quiet our mind, that's when the energy that we are attracting and magnetizing can manifest to us. So it will come to us in the form often of a thought, an idea, an impulse, a desire. Hey, do this. Hey, write that. Hey, be there. And it's to guide you to be in exactly right place in exactly right time for whatever you wish to manifest, right? You might wake up with this desire, maybe I will go and have a massage today. But what happens? You start to think and you feel, no, but I have to do this and I have to do that. And I don't really have time for it. And you jump to work and you operate on autopilot. You completely remove yourself from being present. But this state in the morning when you're, in literally in your theta brainwaves, in your alpha brainwaves, is the best state to receive. And so one day I had the situation that I literally woke up feeling like I really would like to have a massage today. And I was in Warsaw. Warsaw is not a place where I get massages normally. So there was no association for me to get a massage in Warsaw. And I'm like, this is the strangest. I have no even idea where to go. So I opened my laptop and there was this post. Someone invited me to be my friends on Facebook, and I clicked on that person, and there was this post. It's like, thank you for amazing massage. And I knew in that stage that it was something more than just a massage. So I literally took a phone and dialed the number and called the salon and asked if there would be any availability. And they said, yeah, of course, come in 2 hours. We are free. And I'm like, okay. So I went there thinking to myself, okay, what is happening right now? Why this is happening? And the woman started to talk to me. And back then I was still writing my book. And she started to ask me all this question about personal growth. And by the end of the massage, she asked me, listen, I have a group of 20 women. Would you like to do a workshop for us? We would love to see you on like weekly basis. And so for the next 2 months, I was doing a workshop for 20 women in Warsaw. And it wouldn't have happened out of my traditional normal thinking. I couldn't possibly come up with this idea, to start even this kind of workshop. So to summarize, when you quiet your mind, you allow yourself to drop to the state of presence. The state of being present is the state with your highest vibration. That's the only thing you should practice on a daily basis. The more you can be present on a daily basis, the better and the higher your vibration will rise. In that moment of presence and stillness, look for desires, those random weird ideas, those moment of enlightenment, because this is how the universe is trying to get you exactly to the places where you are supposed to be. And through that path, through following those desires, you will receive exactly what you are supposed to receive.
Wow. Thank you for describing that. What a beautiful example. And it really speaks to our tagline at I Heart My Life, which is create a life better than your dreams. Because I feel like, we can only take ourselves so far. The universe obviously knows the greater plan and will send us those downloads. Yeah. But so many people aren't tapped into their intuition, or they're not making time to be present, or they're not even recognizing that that's what's happening. And they're just, using their own agenda. And like you said, just overworking and not actually tuning in. So that's such a beautiful example.
Yeah. And that results in, big depression, stress, and unhappiness, because you can't be happy if you're misaligned with yourself. And you can't create alignment if you're misaligned, right? So if you're acting out of place of misalignment, which will be every time if you are not present, you will attract more misalignment. So this certain situation in your life that are supposed to wake you up and put you back in, in this connection within yourself.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Important.
So it sounds like, that period of time was such a turning point for you. Obviously, like you said, you started your second chapter. And then was that when you evoked on your work as a healer and somebody who, obviously you're an author as well. Is that when all of that started?
Gosh, way after, actually. I first went through enormous a month of my own healing, because once you open the Pandora box, oh yes, there is a lot that has to be processed. And the fact that you just wake up and you get your first awakening and enlightenment, if you wish, doesn't mean that suddenly you're a perfect person, right? In my case, I had to clear all transgenerational traumas from my family, my relationship with my parents, relationship with my brother, relationship with myself. I had to resolve within myself fear of rejection, fear, the shame, guilt, fear of expressing myself, and all basically main wounds, humans wounds that every single person suffers from in one way or another. So I had to make sure that I get myself on the level where I could even think of helping other people. And so I worked with many healers. I worked with many coaches. I did practices after practices until I got to the point where I didn't really I didn't really decide I wanted to be a healer. I always knew I had gifts, but it was never a decision I took. Things were, since 10 years, I actually didn't take any decision on what I'm supposed to do. My intention 10 years ago was for life to simply show me how can I use my biggest gift for the benefit of other people. And since that moment, life has been guiding me exactly to the places, exactly to opportunities that would help to manifest that. Even my book, it was absolutely effortless process. I had a publishing house contacting me out of nowhere to ask me to write a book on self-love with them after seeing my talk. So with the healing part, simply at some point, I got myself at the level where people started to ask me for sessions. And it just happened. It was around 4 years ago. And that's where I knew I was ready, because it wasn't a decision. It was simply me attracting and making myself available for people. And since then, I've been working with people, either one-on-one or groups, or doing retreats, or speaking at large conferences.
So beautiful. And I love how you're describing this, because I've been thinking a lot about it recently with some of the shifts that are happening behind the scenes for us personally and also in business. And I was listening to an episode that our friend recorded and interviewed Vishen from Mind Valley. And just the way that Vishen was speaking, I was like, wow, this person is on a completely different level. And I was comparing him to me, not in a negative way, but just in general, because I'm very inspired by Mind Valley and what he's been able to create. And I was just thinking, I have a lot of work to do within myself still. And although I've been on a big transformational journey the last 10 years or so, and just like you, I've worked with a lot of healers and coaches and mentors, there is a whole nother level. And I'm excited about that, because I can just see that when I up level, how that will just infiltrate everything and really support me in being able to work with a higher, a more evolved, I don't know the right terminology, but just a different type of person, and be able to serve in a different way. And I actually see it as a duty as well. Like I really, I need to do that. And it's not that I don't want to, but it's both. I need to do that in order to up level the brand. Like it starts with me. And I just felt such an invitation to that next level over the last week or so. And it was just very obvious to me that that's what's required.
Every time when we up level ourselves, our reality changes, and our friends, our circle of friends changes. Our mentors are changing, our coaches, our people we simply attract vibrationally. So the easiest way to see how much you are evolving is to see what is changing in your physical reality that is only an extension of you. So, clearly, if you are magnetizing towards those people at that level, you've done the work and you're ready to resonate in that level, which is beautiful, right?
Yeah. And having this conversation with you, like, obviously you have done so much more work than me in this area. But we're here having this conversation. And even yesterday, I got to interview somebody who's been such an inspiration to me in the business space for so many years. And it was all because I felt inspired to book a call with her on this random platform where you can speak to influencers and celebrities. And, now she's become a friend, and there, are collaborations in the works and things like that. So I appreciate you saying that. And it's a great way for people to identify where they're at in the journey as well.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid of the change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because change will come. If you shift yourself, you will experience change in your physical reality. Your job will change, your relationship will change, your friends will change, your mentors will change. It's gonna change 100%. And so more you learn to adapt and be open to that, quicker and smoother it will go for you. But it's unavoidable, and it's a beautiful process, because you realize, well, we can't really attach ourselves to anything, but there isn't the life never leaves void in your life. It always, any empty space always gets filled with so much more, and so much such much bigger opportunities and relationships that are so much better and more evolved than the ones before. And so it's amazing to just watch that and be open to that, and to receive all of that.
So I'd love to talk a little bit more about your work. And in particular, I have my notes pulled up from our session, and you identified that I had 3 emotions trapped in my body, and I'm just going to share them. So you said I had inadequacy trapped in my head from my mother. I had being violated trapped in my stomach and bladder also from my mother. I had helplessness in my stomach, trapped in there from a situation with a man. And number one, like, this is so intriguing to me, because, like, how do you know this is the first question. And do we all have emotions trapped in our body, and how do we release that?
We do. It's, any work that is done on any human being should involve the work on the spiritual side, mental side, and the physical side. And it's very important to combine those, because if you just work on your mindset and on clearing your subconscious beliefs and your self-sabotaging programs, but you have trapped energy in your body, that energy will basically send a vibration that will magnetize things that you don't want to receive. And until this vibration is liberated from your body, it's literally energy that is magnetizing experiences to you. So,
like, I'll magnetize inadequacy or being violated or helplessness. Correct. Even if I cleared that subconsciously, if it's in my body, I'm attracting it.
100%. And how it works is that every time we experience a situation that wasn't processed emotionally, the emotion gets trapped in our body. Additionally to that, the emotion that hasn't been processed by our mother, where we were in her womb, get unfortunately recorded in our body when we are in this 9-month period of experiencing our mom's emotion, and basically having those emotions recorded in our body as well. And then on top of that, there is transgenerational trauma, which are the emotions that hadn't been processed by our ancestor, that gets passed from generation to generation, that can be recorded in our body. And when we clear that emotion, it clears the entire lineage, which is a very beautiful process. So those emotions can be released there are many different techniques to release them. Body's technique, natural technique to release those emotions is through actually a disease. So our body is naturally designed to survive no matter what. So your body will do everything to heal itself. So if your body develops a disease, is there to heal something else, if that makes sense. So every time there is a combination, accumulation of an energy that is too heavy for the body will develop, either you will break something in your body, or you will get sick, or there will be some sort of condition that is designed to eliminate that energy. And so whenever you get sick, the right reaction to speed up the process is to actually be grateful, because your body is trying to help you. And more you are grateful, and more you open up for your body's healing process, quicker it goes. The moment we fight and reject the disease, we separate from the disease and subconsciously actually are blocking the healing process from happening. So, it's hard to understand that almost mentally, but the easiest way to heal yourself is to be grateful for your disease, is to love your own disease, whatever, no matter, it doesn't matter what is there. If you understand that this is healing and releasing something else, the only person who stands on the way of your own healing is yourself and your mind. That because we become judgmental and we judge the disease, and we reject the disease, and we don't like the disease, we send all of that hatred energy towards ourselves that is basically blocking the healing. So this is the first thing. This is how naturally body eliminates those trapped energies. There are many different techniques, physical body energy. You can release some through practices like holotropic breathing, or there is plenty of ways. However, for me, the quickest way is emotional code. And it's a practice where I am actually able to measure exactly in which part of body the emotion has been trapped through a chart that I have in front of me. So I'm seeing the charts, I'm measuring, and I can see when the emotion was trapped and relating to which situation and which person. And was it this life, or was it transgenerational? So before I release an emotion, I am checking exactly where the emotions are trapped, and I'm working by intention. So when you start that work of releasing an emotion, you might have dozens of trapped emotions. So the easiest way is to either ask your body what is ready to be released now, or ask specifically, is there any emotion that is blocking me from this and that, from, for example, experiencing or receiving love, or experiencing and receiving abundance in my life? Or simply you have a condition, physical condition that might be chronic, and you ask your body if there is any trapped emotion that the disease is basically this condition is releasing. So you help your body to release that emotion. You release the emotion, and very often the condition completely disappears.
Wow.
That
was amazing.
Extended.
No, I love it. So good. And I love that you gave us practical ways to do this for ourselves and what to ask. And is that kind of the work that you did when you healed your autoimmune disease?
Not at all. Not at all. Partially. My autoimmune disease wasn't created by a trapped emotion. My autoimmune disease was created by a subconscious, basically self-rejection. And any autoimmune disease, it always relates to self-love. I did not like myself when I was growing up, and those constant judgment, the constant criticism, constant self-hatred resulted, in my case, in a very severe autoimmune disease. So for me, in order to heal myself from that disease, I had to fall in love with the disease and with that part of myself that I found very much imperfect for many years. And I had a lot of negative emotion towards my disease. So I was sending this constant energy of rejection. And when I understood, and when I literally let go of the desire of being healed, that in that moment I stopped fighting with the disease.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped fighting with myself, and that's where the disease completely disappeared.
Beautiful.
So it was more psychological process
Yeah.
combined with, meditation. And
Mm-hmm.
there is no right path for everyone. Everyone will have, there's so many healing methods as well. Every single person will need something else and something different. That's why when I work with people, every single session is very different. I know many different methods to work through the mind, to work through subconscious beliefs, to work through physical, as you mentioned, trapped emotions, and I combine everything I know and simply listen to what is needed in what every person needs. And people might not be ready to receive certain things, and if they're not ready, I can't force them to heal. I can't give them shortcuts. I have to wait, and I have to let them to do their lesson, let them to make the mistakes, and just hold the space for that. So it's really whatever your body is ready for.
Yeah. In the final minutes, can you tell us a little bit about your book and where people can find it?
Yes. So the book is my personal, really spiritual biography, I would say, the story of my life and everything I went through, but also all the tools I've learned to practice on myself and my clients that help you to really recreate yourself completely new and completely let go of and disconnect from any limitations, any limiting beliefs, any restriction you have about yourself, you create about yourself, and mostly to let go of all of the ideas you have created about who you are and who you might become. It strips you it undresses you from who you think you are, to allow you to recreate yourself completely new from the place of a curiosity and unconditional love for yourself. And it's really all the practices, at least for me, it really set me free. It really set me free to enjoy life and experience life in a completely different way, without fear, without insecurities, without any limitations, and with the full openness and magic of this world. So the book has over 30 of different exercises. So it's a very practical book. So even if some people might enjoy the audio version, I would recommend to having in your house the physical copy, because even in the situation when you are triggered, or when you are sad, or when you are disappointed and you are unhappy, there are very specific exercises you can do with yourself to get yourself out of that state, to quiet your mind, and to really resolve some blockages within yourself. And you can buy the book on Amazon in UK, and there is international link for US. It's going to be published later on this year in US, but for today, there is an international link that you can find on my website.
Great. And what's the name of the book again?
Recreate Yourself.
Love it. We'll link that in the show notes. So the final question we ask all of our guests on the show is at least what's one way that our listeners can create a life that's better than their dreams?
Let go of your dreams. Your imagination is your greatest limit, because you can't imagine what you don't know. You can't imagine what is not familiar. So let go of your dreams and let life to design your reality.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, I so appreciate your time. I know everyone's going to be wondering where they can find you and how they can work with you. What's the best website or place to connect with you?
I mean, the website is probably the best place, and you can email me through my website, and you can also follow me on Instagram. I post lots of different quotes and wisdoms regularly, so that could be another place to get inspired.
Great. We'll link all of that on iheartmylife.com. Well, thank you so much, Dorota. I so appreciate your time and for going deep with your story and sharing all your wisdom with us. I know that this is going to be a really powerful episode that people are going to listen to multiple times so they can get all of this wisdom and take it all in. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you.